This video is for the miter saw. Other names for the miter saw are miter box, chop saw, and miter saw. You might hear any of those terms used. First thing we want to do is go ahead and look at our wood. You're going to go ahead and make a measurement on your wood to a set length, and you want to draw a nice straight square line down your wood. Next thing you want to do is when you're going and you're setting up your cut, you've got to set up the machine first. First, you always want to make sure that the safety guard is in place. Next thing you want to do is, this is a sliding miter saw, which means that it can actually come out and cut really wide pieces of wood. For our purposes right now, we're not going to be doing that, so we always want to make sure that the slide on the right-hand side of the machine is all the way locked. If you don't lock that slide, the machine can move on you, and you don't want a spinning blade coming toward your body. So we're always going to make sure that that slide is locked. Next thing, I've got my exhaust hooked up, I've got my shop vac hooked up to the back of the machine. We're set to go, it's plugged in. Now I'm going to line up my cut. I always want to make sure when I'm making a cut that my wood is pushed up against the fence and firmly to the table. If you have a long piece of wood that you're cutting, you always want to look down the wood and see if there is any kind of bow in the wood. A bow is a curve in the wood. If your wood does have a bow in it, you always want to make sure that you put that curved side up against the fence. You never want to put the U up against the fence, or your board is going to pinch and you could end up getting hurt if the blade grabs the wood and it pinches. So again, if you have a U, make sure the U, bottom of the U is up against the fence. So moving on, let's go ahead and line up our cut. I want to leave the machine off for any types of alterations for the machine. So I'm going to take that line and I want to butt the blade up against the line. Notice that I'm not going through the middle of the line. That blade is butted up against the line because the blade actually has a thickness or a curve. So if we look at the blade, there's a thickness. So it actually removes a 1/16 of an inch from the piece that I'm cutting. So again, up against the wood, I've got my cut ready. Now the other thing, I want to make sure that I don't get my hands any closer than 6 to 8 inches to the blade. That's the no-no zone, 6 to 8 inches. If I have a short piece of wood, I can use this clamp in the back of the machine to clamp the wood down. Other things while I'm cutting, I want to make sure that I don't crisscross my hands. Left hand always stays on the left side, right hand on the switch, or left hand on the switch, right hand on my other side of the wood. Right now I have a short piece of wood, so I don't need extra support, but if I have a really long piece of wood, I would be using this table or somebody else for support. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and cut. I want to cut with a nice, steady, fluid motion, and I also want to make sure that my blade comes to a full and complete stop before I bring the head of the saw up. Likewise, I want to make sure the blade is at full speed before bringing the head of the saw down. So I'm going to go ahead, turn my exhaust on, make my cut, and then we'll wrap up. Alright, so my cut is all finished, and I always want to make sure the machine is off before leaving it. And that's all for the miter saw.